Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of The Muse. The Muse is a space that opens and allows and invites people from different fields that are based in traditions, that are based in cosmologies related to spirituality, related to growth, related to evolving. And the intention of the Muse is to touch the heart and inspire the mind to imagine and create new ways of thinking, living, and being. My name is Maya Abouchtid. I'm a shamanic practitioner, energy and bodywork facilitator, and integration and preparation guide. I would like to welcome again my dear friend, Joelle Rabbaa. Welcome, Joelle.
Hello, hello, hello. So good to be back.
Nice to have you back. It's been the journey since November. The Muse really started with the lunar cycle, which is very dear to both of us. From my experience in the shamanic work, the moon has been a guide in my journey and also in holding space for others on the new moon and the full moon. And with that, I would like to express also how our relationship with the moon as humans reminds us to look into ways of living in line with the natural world around us. And the moon is an expression of checking in on the new moon, planting seeds, tuning in to our inner world, all the way to the full moon to touch on expressions either of culminations or endings and or celebration of a specific cycle. And to every new moon, there's a continuation with the next full moon and the next new moon and the next full moon. So it's not only linked to the monthly cycle, but also linked to sometimes 6 months or 12 months. So when we are in the energy of the moon, be it the new moon and or the full moon, the time frame between those expressions of the moon, be it dark or lit, is happening few days before and few days after. And the same for the seasonal changes, the same for everything that we get to a certain peak with. And we realize that something is shifting. So the moon is very, very guiding for us in terms of our physical body, in terms of our connection with waters. And we've been really relating to the energy of water and the depth of the waters that we are feeling, the depth of the emotions that we are experiencing, and also at the same time staying focused as much as we can and allowing things to be digested, be it related to karmic cycles all the way to where we see ourselves now and what are we deciding for the next moment. So on this day today, we are sharing about the new moon in Sagittarius and how can it speak to us, Joelle, in terms of the astrology, the expression of the new moon itself, but also what is happening around it?
First of all, thank you for this amazing, amazing definition about the moon, because the moon, for me, the moon, I mean, in astrology as well, the moon always stewards energies from a planet to another because it's the fastest body that circles the zodiac. The thing about having a new moon, like you said, it's like it's a dark moon. It's a phase of the moon where we don't really see it. We know that this cycle is happening because two days later we start seeing like this very fine light coming out of the shape of the moon. And having a new moon usually is yes, it's very feminine because the sensation is like is more inward than when the moon is lit and the full moon. But the thing about this full moon, this new moon in Sagittarius, is that it's happening first of all at 20 degrees Sagittarius, and the thing is, you remember since we did our first episode, we had after it directly a conjunction between the Sun and Mars. So having Mars so close to the Sun means that for, you know, several lunations after, until Mars becomes visible and becomes separate from the Sun for like by 15 degrees, we're having Mars very close to any kind of lunation, which gives a little bit of instability to the feeling. Plus, we're talking about a new moon and a fire sign, which is Sagittarius, which loves expansion, right? And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet, like the bigger benefic. It's like the planet of faith and law and, you know, the bettering of things, right? It's like it whatever Jupiter has in its own, you know, kingdom, it makes it bigger. So this new moon is ruled by Sagittarius, which is still retrograde until the end of the year, and still ruled by Venus, which in her turn now is in the, you know, is in the depth of the waters of Scorpio. And the new moon is happening right after this meeting with Venus between Jupiter and Venus, which happened yesterday, and for us yesterday, 2 days before the new moon. And the thing is, we have Mercury coming directly retrograde after this new moon that is going to happen, which tells us that, you know, first of all, we have a new moon in Sagittarius. It's still next to Mars and it's still square to Neptune. So first of all, we have like a bit of frustration underlying and a bit of confusion about like, which gives me like this image of like we're planting seeds, but these seeds are like expanding and we can expand them everywhere. They can be not, it's not a very focused planting. It's more of like, yeah, there are so many stuff happening. It's a bit of and I know that you're feeling that right now, right? Like we're feeling the energies. We're talking about the quality of the times, and that's why we're interested to do this. And we're not interested to put so much labels on it, but just talk about the impressions, because we have so many layers, right? We have the layer of this fire that wants to be, you know, go and expand, and you know, and we have faith because of Jupiter. We're feeling the faith. However, it's a bit scattered. It's very mutable here. And at the same time, the pause that everybody's gonna hit directly, like less than 24 hours after the full moon, like almost 12 hours, we have Mercury stationing retrograde. And Mercury is stationing retrograde in Capricorn, which is like the sign of structure. Capricorn is a bit of a serious mood for Jupiter. It changes from the Mercury in Sag, which was very, you know, hopeful, and now we're hitting like really restructuring, reviewing. That's a retrograde, like re-editing, revising everything that has to do with like what are the structures, what are the foundations of our life, is there anything from the past that I need to review to move forward? And you know, and I would love you to give your input about this, because I feel like you have a lot to share in regards to this energy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we talk about technicalities, again, you know, I would like to remind everybody that sometimes there's there's a lot of technical words that we mention, yet I invite you listeners to tune into the energy of what we are tapping into, and see what feels right for you. If you're going through a review or a revision in your life, if people are coming back into your life, to check on if they are meant to stay in your life or not, and if something can be cleared out for a conversation to end something and or to begin a new way of connecting with the same person while they are going through what they have gone through, and you have gone through what you have gone through, and meeting again. I think that's the theme for me, since quite a while now. And this is where, you know, tapping into the arcs of the lunar cycles is an ongoing reminder to check in around the new moon time, ascend, raise the energy to the full moon, and then descend back to the new moon. It's a time where when you're creating something or when you're starting something, you start it from the new moon, you build it up to the full moon, and then you go through a cleansing or a clearing down to the new moon. So if there's any review, and I know I've been going through a lot of reviews, personally, professionally, and you know, on all levels, really. There's a sense of, as you said, Joelle, you know, when you talk about Venus in Scorpio, it's the expression of how can beauty be felt while we are in the depth of the murky waters, or the depth of the scorpionic expression. And this is very much also related to our sexuality, our connection with what that can be, in terms of our connection with our body, our connection with that sacred temple, in order to also realign, to also see what, you know, you mentioned faith and the theme around this new moon. We touched on faith in our preparation for this, and faith came back as a word, as a technical word. So so in that shift where we're entering that dark moon, what can be reviewed in our life, so that we know, okay, I'm clear on that, and I'm not clear on the other thing, but at least there is an acknowledgement of, if there's confusion, we allow it. We don't take decisions. We don't decide from a place of confusion. We decide from a place of clarity. And that's, on a personal level, that's what I've been experiencing lately. And it's very much in tune with, it's always in tune with the lunar cycle. When it comes to this new moon, as you said, with, you know, its expression in a fire sign, because, you know, in astrology, there's the elements also. There's the fire, there's the water, there's the air, and there's the earth. As this is an expression with the fire sign, how can it be tangible? How can, you know, I know there's confusion, there's a lot of emotions.
That's the thing, that there is so much elements at play. We have the fire sign from the Sagittarius part, but we still have the earth part, which is held by Jupiter, that refers to Venus, which is in water signs. And that's why in astrology, visibility of the planets is very important. The way they talk to each other, the way they are, you know, they are like, if you imagine them as, you know, the planets are sitting on a round table, how do they look at each other? Are they opposite each other? They see each other fully? Are they like in a, like, you have to make a lot of effort to look, right? Like now Venus, which is, you know, which refers to Mars, because Mars rules Scorpio, is really next to it. So there is a deep need of doing the work Because when you mentioned Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, yes, it's in the murky waters. Yes, she's not in a very specific good place for her to help, but still the expression of Venus in Scorpio is harmonizing through purifying those waters. And in order to do this, Maya, we need to keep things at a conscious level. So if we talked a lot about this image that I love, and you came out with it, and we just tweaked it, and it was about this river. If we look at this, at the spheres of there is the sphere of action, you see the river on the surface going, but there is the underlying that feels like more stable because it's underneath, yet it's still moving forward. The underspheres are still moving forward. They seem like they are a bit like more in a sort of like in between spaces, because the spheres of action are on the surface. So when I think of the fire of Sagittarius, I think of the spheres of action on the surface of a river. The thing is, we gain a lot by trusting the faith underlying it, trusting the underlying spheres that do not really need action right now. They need to trust the faith. They need to know that it's messy, it feels messy, and it looks sometimes messy somehow for some people. Maybe some people won't feel it. But if you resonate with this feeling of, messiness or discombobulation, specifically in regards to Mercury, the practical way is to understand that, there is nothing against me if I can take action. I might need to pause a little bit to review. And that, I think, is like a very wise way to use faith. Wisdom is asked of us in order to usher ourselves, because Mercury will only be back on foot and regular programming by the beginning of the year.
Which is quite synchronized. It's amazing.
And on the 8th, Mercury met with Jupiter. So it feels like Mercury is stewarding us towards between the end of the year and the beginning of the year. And it will meet with Jupiter 3 times, and the end date of it is 19th of Jan. So if we look at this period of time from 8th of December to 19th of Jan, with the lunation inside them, we're talking about, really having faith in our own methodology, but being honest and reviewing and really looking internally and externally sometimes at events, because Mercury retrograde can talk about legalities. Sometimes you have legal issues that can come up, and you're like, or stories from the past, or some squabbles you had with some people. How do you, or some technology, commerce stuff that you didn't you ordered and you didn't have. For some people, legal papers, and they're working with their legal papers, and it's all like, if we trust the underlying faith, like you said, we have the chance to purify those intentions and to keep moving forward, and with the clarity towards the 2024 era.
Yeah. And I think the theme of review has been just quite lit. There has been a lot of reviews. I mean, if we look at the last 3 years, since early 2020, everything was in review, everything. And there's obviously more chaos, probably because of that shaking that is happening, and the revision, and looking at things from from other perspectives, all the way to addressing them. How can I revisit a situation in a new way or in a different way? And so there's also the chance, how we give ourselves the chance to see ourselves differently and look at, because sometimes I hear people telling me, but I was always like that. And when we look into this and explore it together, be it in ceremony or outside ceremony, I'm like, okay, this has been an identification. But then the review is about resetting a new way of visiting this, but in a different way, in a way that can be, about expanding, but expanding with the revision, expanding with the work. Most of us,
and with foundations,
and with foundations that, some pieces would work still, and other pieces would have to be recycled. And so that foundation is changing too. That's why it feels that we are stepping. It's like the next step, we don't know if there's going to be ground in front of us. And the previous step, when we lift that foot, the ground is gone. And so the only way we are moving is forward. But we usually think that, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do everything. And it's more like, what is in line with you? What is your truth? What is your calling? And embodying that again and again and again, so that the uniqueness of each one of us can be shared. In my world, it's like, everything that I do is to see people really share their own medicine. But it doesn't have to be within the context of shamanism. It doesn't have to be within the context of so-called spirituality. It can be within the context of work, banking system, anything, because we need people to share their truth, to share their medicine in the system. And so this is also where we are embracing our gifts and shedding the things that we thought were limiting us, but it was aspects that were helping us get to where we are and move out or move into a next stage where those layers are shed. It's like, I like this image also of the warrior that goes through war has to get to a point of letting go of the warrior in order to live without that archetype. It's like embodying that truth fully until it's not needed. And it's part of the change. And that's where we think that the new moon is the same, it's a dark moon, and the full moon is the same, but it's not. It looks the same. It's how we are showing up. And some days, as you said, Joelle, which really, it really resonates with me, how much we need to pause, how much we need, in the speed of everything happening, just pausing, taking a breath.
Because practically it can be very useful practically for people if we don't hurdle into action and just go quickly into just let me go because it's the end of the year and let me do stuff. It could be beautiful to pause. It could be really helpful for people actually to start planting seeds for a better next year, which doesn't mean that there will not be bad stuff that will happen, but a better alignment for us in order for the action to be. This is where I love your idea about the warrior. When we shed the warrior, when you shed the warrior, you don't need to force action. You have aligned action. You have the focus of Mars instead of just like because Mars is tricky, right? It's a planet that likes to make problems. We have two planets that love to make problems that are Mars and Saturn. And they don't really love to make problems, but they're here to just stop stuff. So if we don't use, like you said, the warrior in the rawness of the warrior, but just pause in order to align, I think it can be really practical and really useful. And this new moon could be really beautiful for us.
Yeah. And the
But
challenges can
again,
become the challenges can become allies. It does not mean that the challenges are comfortable.
no,
It does
no,
not
they're
mean
not.
that we don't go into
No.
swearing mode sometimes, and it's like, what is going on, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
At the same time, there is the processing. We're always processing. There's always integration. It's like we move in and out of lunar cycles, and we're integrating the whole time. And sometimes we're lagging. Sometimes we're like, I can't, it's just too
Well, the
much.
feeling with Neptune is not really comfortable. Like
Mm,
Neptune is really good at, the big stages and the flair and the drama. But it feels like it's a bit discombobulating in regards to, we're still navigating some fogginess. It doesn't feel like the fogginess that we described in the full moon. It's more like I still can sense things. It feels like they're slippery, they're
mm,
fading away. And
mm.
we see the glimmers of light, but they're still not, you can't trust them yet.
Yes.
That's why
Yeah.
pausing is, yeah,
Yeah,
is
that's how it feels. And also it's quite synchronized, as you said, this new moon is accompanied with a Mercury retrograde. And sometimes Mercury retrograde is like, oh, we are in Mercury retrograde, and it's like
and it's fine,
everything
right?
is going to be messy. And it's like, actually, you know what?
No,
It's a review. And if when we go through reviews all through the year, especially this Mercury retrograde, as you mentioned, is gonna move direct on January 1st. It's like the perfect
January
moment.
1st, January 2nd for us
Yeah.
here in the region. Yeah, yeah.
And so
It's
it's perfect when it comes to how to approach the end of this year, also in a spiral way, not only in the linear way of time as we know it.
That's beautiful. Oh my God, that's beautiful what you said. The spiraling part makes so
Yeah.
much sense in the
Mm,
body.
mm,
If we're talking about embodying those
mm,
energies, it feels like we're spiraling.
mm,
It's not a circle, it's a spiral.
mm, mm.
And in the spiral, you can touch on different points that you're like, oh my God, I've been there before, but
Yeah.
not quite yet. It was different. I'm
Mm,
dealing with it differently.
mm,
And I think that's, if you look at it, I mean, I hope that people can. Sometimes it's not possible. Okay, let's just, make it real for people. Sometimes it's not possible to be like, yeah, completely composed in regards to challenges, and sometimes when things from the past arise, you're like, oh my God, I dealt with this, why? But if you look at it from a different perspective, this spiral is hitting another point in 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 that circle, and
mm,
maybe that's a point that you need a
mm,
layer again. And
mm.
that's why the trust and the faith can usher us, in a beautiful way. Anyway, I'm just going to give a little bit of like a glimpse of what's coming between the new moon and the full
Mm,
moon.
mm,
The Mercury retrograde will go back into Sag, but before going into Sag at 0 Capricorn on the 22nd, it's gonna meet with the sun. And usually, whenever a planet meets with the sun, we talked about it. It kind of has like an upper position in the sky, and
wow, this is the solstice. It's going to be on the winter solstice, huh?
it's going to be on the winter solstice, and we're having this amazing meeting between the sun and Mercury. And it feels like if you don't know what this Mercury retrograde and all these energies mean, it feels like you're on the way out of the woods or on the way out of you know, whatever, you know, drench you've been in, or you understand what I mean? So yeah, so it's yeah, so that's something that we can keep in mind. We can keep in mind as well that we have another meeting between Mercury retrograde and Jupiter. You know, again,
yeah, when it comes to expansion while going through the reviews.
yes.
So the reviews are looking more like, how can we look at what seems like the same thing, but it's different because our perspective can change, because we create our reality every single day. And so when we repeat something, we repeat it until there's a shift in seeing it. And I think this is where those little shifts bring about bigger ones. And this is where we're like, I have been there, but I'm not there anymore. I embodied it, I owned it, and now I know better. Now I know better and I choose better. Now the memory in the body needs to process. And this is where I would like to highlight here that and that's very personal also for me, when we go through something and we feel that we went through a closure, the body needs time to process. So be patient with yourself. Be gentle. Be gentle.
Beautiful. Yeah,
that's
truth.
Remember to be gentle. And when you go into harshness, if there is a need to go there, allow it and come back to gentleness. Come back to gentleness. Come back to a place where it's like, if the world has been so harsh with me, I choose to be gentle with myself. And from there, there's an expression of a shift in the frequency around us. And there's always a reminder of that. Always, always, always.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 18th of December,
yep.
Mercury retrograde is, you know, having a nice discussion with Jupiter that is still retrograde. And this discussion will end at 19th of Jan. So it's the second meeting. And then we have the meeting of Mercury with the Sun that will help people just, you know, see the way forward, not really understanding what or having all the pieces in place, but still, you know, you can have more of, you know, okay, yeah, I'm moving in this direction. So practically for people, it's a very auspicious time, by the way. If you have something nice to do, we can do it, and we can put the exact timing for people.
We will be following up. I mean, that's what the focus of the muse is on for now, the lunations, the lunar cycle, so that also, and we're weaving something to also share with you
later.
And we would like also to share with everyone else, or everyone that resonates with this, which will be a combined guided journey, embodiment based journey, combining astrology and shamanic journey work through 2024.
Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. I'll be sharing it in my newsletter, and Joelle will be sharing it with her contacts. And we're excited as we are going through this, you know, these last days of the so-called year. There's excitement, and also there's pause while being excited. So there's a combination.
At least, I mean, for us, it feels like we're grounding it. Like we're like, okay, yeah, there is excitement. We love the excitement, but it's we love it to be aligned as well and well grounded for us to just, you know, keep in the foundations.
Yes.
Thank you, Maya.
Expressing from that place. Really. Thank you, Joelle. Again, you know, I would like to remind everybody that Joelle is doing readings, and she's really, really amazing.
Thank you.
And I know how passionate she is about what she's doing and who she is while expressing what she does. And that's the beauty. I will be putting your contact details in the description below. If you are going through something that you want to bring about clarity in your life, get in touch.
If you want to know about, you know, the cycles that you're currently navigating, that could be an interesting way to use astrology. Yeah.
Indeed. And or if you feel like gifting someone a reading, that would be a nice thing also for the end of the year, to help them or to bring about some kinds of...
But make sure they like astrology, because sometimes, you know, people want to gift other people and other people are like, I'm not interested in this stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, this is the practical part of Joelle here. So thank you again, Joelle. It's always a pleasure to share with you. It's always a pleasure to sit together for a little while to just bring about how we're reading the energies to prepare for our recording every time. Thank you everyone for listening. The Muse is on YouTube. The Muse is on Spotify and on SoundCloud. And hopefully, gradually, as we go through time, hopefully we'll get enough support to also grow and expand and share our passion with you and you with others as well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
And sending you many blessings and much love. Bye for now.